So what the heck was that you just saw? Anybody know what that was? Curling. That, in fact, is my true love, curling. I was in that video. Yeah, so one of my passions is curling. And we've got a minute, right? Lots of stories. So I live in Minnesota, in Minneapolis-St. Paul area, Twin Cities. There was one curling club there, St. Paul Curling Club, and they had 1,400 members, 1,500 members, jam-packed, couldn't get in. And so my wife and I decided to start our own curling club. I mean, how hard can it be? Yeah, I never was very smart. So we started a curling club in an arena, and then 2 more curling clubs started in the Twin Cities. So St. Paul still has 1,200 members. Blaine has, I think it's 1,000 members, and Chaska has 1,400 members, plus our little club of 100 members. So this last September, we were offered a building that was an ice hockey training facility that went out of business. So we were offered a building for some landlords that we knew to start our own curling club, which we did. Opened it in January of this year, and now we're up to almost 600 members. It's really exciting, it's fabulous. And I've not slept since January, because like, what if we can't make it? Anyway, so that's an aside. I think we'll just get going. I hate being late. It's 1 o'clock, and you guys want out of here at 1:45, right? So we're going to talk about managing in Agile. How many of you are managers? I asked this question this morning. Managers of some sort. People managers, project managers, functional managers. You're the people, we're the people who don't get addressed, right? There's nothing about us in the Agile Manifesto. There's no certified Agile Manager class for 2 days to make us experts. There's nothing. There's just nothing. And we're asking questions already, good. And so I've been thinking about this for a long time, a very long time, and working with a lot of different people on this. So this work is not just my work. This is very collaborative work out of Solutions IQ. A little bit about me. I'm actually a production engineer. I used to design machine tools for the automobile industry. Used to work on the Triumph Spitfire. Triumph TR7 was the last car I worked on. And interestingly, I found that in designing machine tools, I do a lot of experiments. Okay, you want this machine tool. I'd work with the designer. I specialized in rear axle transmissions. I'd work with the designer to figure out what it is they wanted, and then figure out a way to make a basic design. Make a bit of a machine tool, try it out. If it worked, add on to it. If it didn't work, throw it away, do it again. Does this sound familiar to anybody? This was back in 1975, 76. And so I learned my trade doing that. Wrote my first line of software in 1978. Anybody not born in 1978? A few of you, sorry. I did some work for Expedia a while ago. They just bought a company in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I was doing a Scrum Master class. And I said, was anybody not born in 1978? They all put their hand up. And one guy said, I don't think my parents were born in 1978. It was really good. I've been around this Agile place since about 1998, when I was a vice president with EDS. I had about 1,000 staff across the Pacific Rim. And we were looking for a way of engaging better with our customers. How do you do that? Oh my God, you talk to them. What a rapid idea. Some of these very basic ideas. So I've been at this since then. My wife and I owned our own software company for 10 years. Some nice big clients, 3M, GE, MoneyGram, and a lot of smaller clients. And we literally lived in the Agile world. We were delivering using Agile. Although we'd have 2-year-long agreements, we'd have 1-month-long contracts. We deliver something, do you want to do more of it? Deliver something, do you want to do more of it? So when we talk about collaboration over negotiation, that's absolutely it. And I'm a curler, love curling. Okay, so what? Here's my curling club. This is the liquor cabinet in my curling club. What do you see? Kanban cards, right? So as soon as that reorder point card falls out, I got to order beer, right? So I apply this to a lot. And you can't tell, but on the wine, the 3 bottles of wine behind that card, when I get to it, I reorder. So Kanban at its finest, much more important than work in progress and software. This is really important. I really want to talk, though, about managing. Okay, I've wasted 5 minutes just telling stories. Are you familiar with the yellow card, red card concept? Okay, so if I wander too much, get the yellow card out. Yellow card me, okay? So, how do you become an agile manager? Well, first you become a manager, right? You're good at what you did. So they say, hey, you could be a manager. You can tell everybody else what to do. So they trained you in command and control. Take control of the situation. Tell people what to do. Make sure you have your resources lined up, right? Is this familiar to anybody in the room? Like everybody in the room, right? Who should be working on what, how to do it, when to do it, where to do it, rarely why to do it, right? And you know everything, because you're the manager. What happens is the executives come down and say, hey, what's happening on this project? And if you don't have the details, you're in trouble. I find that's true now, even in an agile environment. Although the team is empowered and self-organizing, we still have executives coming to the manager and saying, what's going on? I want to know everything. Well, my team's empowered. They know everything. Oh, that's not good enough, right? Ooh, that burns me. That really burns me. So, your goal was to exploit your resources. Make sure we're making money. Keep them busy, right? 100% utilization. That was your role as a manager. Then this agile thing came along. And how did that feel? As managers, did you go to any of the classes? Were you involved in the training? You went to the training. And how much of that was focused on helping you manage in agile? Nothing, okay. So your boss said, hey, Nancy, you know we've had you for 20 years, we've trained you in all this stuff, we've promoted you, we've given you all these bonuses. We were just kidding about that stuff. I don't want you to manage that way anymore. I want you to manage differently, because we're agile now. That was your training, by the way. That was your training. So you go and see your coach, right? Hey, coach, help me. I'm a manager, but I don't know what to do. Oh, no problem. Become a servant leader. How hard is it? I've got a book. Here, I'll loan you my book, right? I hate to say it, I'm being very flippant here, but I hear this story all the time. All the time. And this is the hardest thing we do. What does that mean? Right? All the time I hear this from managers. I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know how to behave. Very, very sad. So I want to talk about that today. From a leadership viewpoint, this is what we want to have happen. No more command and control, but make us responsive. How much training have we had to do that? Probably none, right? I want to deliver a continuous stream of value. How much training have we had in that? Maybe a little bit, but probably not much. And I want to create an innovative culture. I got news for you. As managers, you cannot create an innovative culture. You can encourage the people working with you to be innovative, but if your executives, leadership, board of directors aren't doing this, then it's never going to happen. And yet you get squeezed to do it. Is that right? Yeah. Did I say this was going to be easy, by the way? I lied if I did. So this thing called VUCA, right? Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity is a construct. Anybody familiar with this construct? Some that we use? I'm not going to go into depth of this at all. Look it up afterwards. But the more we become agile, the more we take in the practices and the beliefs of being agile, the more volatility you're going to see. Because we're giving away that power as managers. We have to give that power away. The more ambiguity we are introducing. Because we're saying, hey, business, what do you want? You don't know? Well, let's run some experiments. Can we try this and this? This, and this, right? So the ambiguity quotient goes through the roof. We have to figure out a way of working with that. We have to figure out a way of what does this mean to us and our team. So I've been taking my direction recently with some of my colleagues from the ancient Greeks. Nothing is ever new, right? Well, this really isn't new. The Greeks have this thing called the golden mean. What it means is a behavior, an understanding, is never absolute. You're always struggling with where it is. So it's bouncing around between what they call vices and a virtue, right? So be at one end of the extreme or the other. It's never static, never static. What I want to do in a little while is run through 8 behaviors that I use to guide my managing efforts and see if that resonates with you. I wish we were at tables to do this, but we're not. Let me give you a real example of this. That's kind of abstract. Eating is a virtue. Eating is a good thing. Anybody not have lunch today? So eating is a good thing. So that's our virtue. Gluttony is not really a virtue, but it's definitely associated with eating. Starvation is not a virtue, but it's got something to do with eating, right? So I bounce around with eating between these 2 extremes. I had surgery a while ago, and my doctor said, you can't eat for 24 hours. Starvation. So I fell down to the bottom end of that scale. It was still a good thing, but my golden mean was down towards starvation. People who run marathons tend to fuel up in the time before. They tend towards gluttony, right? So there's no absolute there. Anybody have teenage boys in their house? Where do they fall? It's not at the bottom, right? But it's good for them because they're growing. So the things I want to share with you, you have to think about this spectrum. Can I stop that? Yeah, I can. Good. I want you to think about that spectrum, where they fall, and where they fall in your style and in your organization and in timing and with your people. Okay? We have to be dynamic about this. I'm afraid there are no rules anymore. Not only are we using Agile to deliver, we should start thinking about using Agile to manage and to run as well. This is Agile in the business for me. We do a lot of work with Agile in the business. Oh, let me go back here. So these are my 4 pairs, my 8 virtues. And I'm going to describe these in a little while. And I'd like your input on them too. If you can use them and take them away, fantastic. If you have different ones, fantastic. I just want you to get thinking about these in a slightly different way. But not just the virtues. Do any of you do any of these team roles or strengths finders or inspirational leadership or anything like that? Well, this gives us another tool to understand our people, right? So I want you to think about how do my people react? How mature are they? How experienced are they? What are their personality traits? These are Belbin team roles. I've used this for a while. It just resonates with me. I'm not advocating this over any other. Just a way of understanding your people and their strengths. And then using those strengths as best you can. So Belbin has 9 team roles. I'm not going to read them out. Go and Google it if you want to. Okay? But understanding the people I'm working with now really influences my golden mean on those values that I talked about. So here are the 8, this is the wisdom right now, pay attention. Here are the 8 things. I want to invite people to come and work with me as a manager. I'm talking as a manager now, all right? So I want to invite people onto my team. I want to invite people to get work done. I don't want to tell them anymore, you have to do this. There are times when I have to say, I'm sorry, you have to do this. We have no choice. You're the only person that can do it, and I'm not really inviting you. I wish I could, but I'm not. We have to get this done, right? So where do I fall in that spectrum? The other thing about inviting people in, and as a manager, this was really hard for me. Inviting people in means they can say no. No, you don't understand. I'm your manager. Oh, no, wait, I'm inviting you. Really messed with me. That was really hard. So when you invite people to do things, they can say no. Wow. Does that hurt anybody's head, or was it just me? Right? As a manager, we're not accustomed to that at all. Not at all. Does anybody use this technique now with your people? I thought you were raising your hand there for a moment. I was going to be really excited. Okay. Think about how you can use this. Will it even work with your organization? I don't know. You have to know that. I don't know. The pairing of that, though, is that when I invite somebody, I expect them to respond. I want them to say yes, no, perhaps, maybe, tell me more, yada, 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 right? And when they come up with a suggestion or a question or an invitation of their own, I have to respond. So this now is not, I'm the all-knowing, all-seeing, all-wise boss anymore. This is, I have to respond to what you're asking me. I have to respond to what you're saying to me. I have to learn to be not an answering, not an oracle, but somebody who can inquire, someone who can clarify these things. So those are two sides of the same thing, depending where you're sitting. Am I in front of the desk or behind the desk, right? And they swap places during the conversation. Oh my gosh, collaboration, that's what this is kind of about. Is this making any sense at all, or am I wandering all over the place? Nobody's asleep yet, so that's good. You can see the extremes here of respond is, I'm going to avoid that. I'm going to ignore it. No, I'm sorry. No, we'll talk about it later. We'll postpone it. We'll cancel it. We'll never get there. Don't let yourselves do that. Respond the best way you can. Try and figure it out and respond appropriately. The next thing is that I'm going to enable you to do something. You're all familiar with the Spotify model, no doubt. Most of you, right? Google that too. Write that down. Google Spotify. So the intent of a manager, they don't have managers, but somebody in a manager role in the Spotify model is that they are there to equip the people they are working with, equip their teams, right? So if you don't have a particular skill, I will go and figure out where you can get that skill. If you need to pair with someone on another team, I, as your manager, will go and facilitate that. Okay? So you have to make yourself aware of the skills of your teams, what they need, what is coming along, and what skills they might need in the future. Oh, and by the way, it's not just skills for work. Told you I love curling, opened a curling club. My company gave me enough flexibility in my schedule so that I could go and open a curling club. That was enabling to me. So also think about your people outside of work, right? How can you enrich their lives, not just in work? We're at work 8 hours a day. We're not at work for the rest of the time, right? So view your people, and I'm sure you do this already, as whole people with families and needs that way. Very early in my managerial career, I had, we can tell a story. I had a young lady who was just not performing well, not doing very well at all. She was a developer and she was just not performing. I talked to her, what's going on? Nothing, I'm fine, I'm just, a bit down in the dumps. This went on for a couple of weeks, back in the office, what's going on? I was this close to firing her until I found out that I think the kid was 18 months old, 2 years old, was in the hospital with a heart condition. And she hadn't told anybody, right? So I had to take that piece of information in and then enable her to spend more time outside of work. I actually felt really good about that, and she became a really loyal, productive employee after that. But, I was this close to making a huge mistake. Huge mistake. So think about how you can enable your people to do better work. That's all I'm going to say, better work. Whether it's inside the organization or outside of the organization. That takes a real level of honesty on both sides. And then improve. How do I, and I'm talking about managers again, how do I as a manager improve? The real danger here is that I want to perfect everything. In the Agile world, how much do we aim for perfection? How much do we aim for gold plating? Well, not at all, I'm hoping, is the answer, right? We don't get everything perfect, we get everything good enough. Everything good enough. But you don't want to stagnate and just say, mediocrity is okay. We'll figure that out later. But again, you're going to be bouncing between these two extremes, right? Sometimes, if you're working on a nuclear reactor, you probably want to get that pretty close to perfect. One of my friends is a company that makes heart valves. He wants to get his work as close to perfect as he can, and I admire him for that. I think that's a really good thing. On the other hand, I have a couple of friends who work for a pizza company, very well-known pizza company, who generate a lot of their money on Super Bowl Sunday. Gee, which pizza company could that be? They almost missed a release for Super Bowl about 4 years ago because they got a new VP of quality, and she wanted the quality to be perfect. And she wouldn't authorize the release because there were some mistakes in spelling on the page, on the homepage. We had a big meeting about it, and the VP of product said, dude, you don't understand. Most of our customers can't read past a 5th grade level. They're never going to notice this, right? So yeah, we'll improve it later. Yeah, so that's fine. So pick where your extremes are, right? And figure out in that moment where you're going to be. Had that been a financial system, aiming for almost perfection would have been a good thing, right? Ordering pizza online, nobody's going to die. Well, unless they get it really wrong. Learn. As a manager, another thing it took me a long time to figure out is I've been anointed a manager, I must know everything. Yeah, thank you. I got that way after a while, right? Because I've been boosted from my peers, right? I must be better than those guys. I'm a manager now, so I must know everything. It took me a while to figure out I actually didn't know very much at all, and I had to learn everything that was going on. Wow, this also sounds like Agile, right? Run some experiments, talk to people. How can you motivate your people and learn from what they do? Because maybe you demotivate them, right? As managers, we're not allowed to demotivate people, right? But if we demotivate people, can we learn from that and never do it again? Ooh, what's the smallest thing I can do to learn from that? This took me a long time to understand. I actually still struggle with this today, because I might make a decision for you. I shouldn't be doing that, but I might do that, and it's completely the wrong thing. Well, now I have to swallow my pride and say, sorry, I messed up. How can I learn from that? Right? Very different role for a manager. Very different role. Certainly I don't want to aim towards ignorance and not know anything at all, but neither do I want to pretend I know everything. Right? So what is, in this particular situation, the right way to go? And then once I've learned, I need to share my learnings with other people. And I want to find the people that taught me the lesson and have them share the lesson with other people. Oh, you mean like other managers that I work with? This is kind of a retrospective, right? If I learn something and then share it, this is kind of a retrospective, but at the management level. All of these are Agile approaches. Geez, managing in an Agile way. Whew, weird. We have a tendency to protect what we know, because that's the fairy dust to management, right? There's only a limited supply of that. Wrong answer. Right? I want everybody to know that. That make sense? You're going to be out of here at 1:30. No, you're not. You've heard the old saw, I'm sure. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them in that proportion. Listen. And I don't just mean hear words. There's a lot of research around this, of course, but when most people are listening to somebody else, they're not really listening, they're thinking about what they're going to say next. Right? How am I going to respond to you? Listen, really listen for people. And see how they're standing, see how they're sitting. You know, look at body language. Think about all of those things. This is all part of communication. What I don't want to do is sit there silently, because that's not encouraging people to talk to me. So when I'm listening, I'm, yeah, oh, really? You know, all of those good things, right? Just little responses to encourage people to keep speaking. Think about what that means. And those are very cultural, very cultural. Gentlemen, excuse me picking on you, but if somebody's talking to you, how do you encourage them to keep talking? Yeah, the head, right? Little head shake, or, right. Here we say, yeah, There are I'm English. Any other English people in the room? I'm going to let you into a secret. If you're talking to an English person and they say, that's really interesting, what they mean is, oh, come on, shut up. I don't care. Oh, it's really interesting. Oh, okay, let's change the subject. Yeah, I get it. It's not they don't care, but it's like that's a verbal tick we use in England to say, that's enough, dude, too much information. Stupid, right? So don't just use silence. Encourage people to keep talking, because that's how they share information, right? And don't speak over them either, right? Don't just keep talking and then have this battle of who's going to talk more. Yeah, I'm sure we've seen that situation. We've never been the ones talking, right? We've seen other people do that. The joke. Yeah. And then the opposite of that is clarify. So, yeah, great. Oh, wait a minute, you just said blue. Now, what shade of blue are we thinking of exactly? Oh, now you talk some more, you get some more information, right? So that clarifying, that questioning is critical when you're working with people. But where does that fit in my spectrum? Oh my God, it's all over the place, right? So it's not these points that are important, it's where it fits in the spectrum. Where is that golden mean? Let me come back to these. Let me ask you an example. Let me give you an example and ask you to discuss it. So we have a new intern. She's been with us 6 weeks. She knows the way around the building, not much more. I want her to work on a programming project and then teach the rest of the team about what she did. What would I do? How would I approach that? How would I talk to her? And how would I do that?
Ask her if she'd like to.
Oh my God, ask her if she'd like to. You're a genius. I love it. See how easy it is? No. Right. And what else would I ask her to do? I gave you the answer a moment ago. Yeah. Okay, what about making sure she's got the right equipment? Right? Do you want to do this on your own, or should I pair you with somebody? Would you like to pair with somebody? See, I still do it. Would you like to pair with somebody? Right? Anybody else want to take a crack at this? What sort of responses? What about the learning piece? Okay, good. Or do you want to stick with the same old stuff? Right? I want you to share what you've learned with the rest of the organization. How do you feel about that? Is there anything you need from me so that you can share it effectively? Right? Oh, you've never used PowerPoint? Okay. Do you want to go on a PowerPoint class for 2 days? So it's as opposed to when I used to be a bad old manager, I probably still am, but it would, hey, you got to do this, I want it by Friday, and then you're going to run a 20-minute workshop telling everybody how great you are and what you did. My God, how scary is that? Right? Anybody been in that situation? Nobody. Everybody's got your hands sitting on your hands. All right, I'll come back to this slide in a moment. Come on, there we go. So the old behaviors, the ones that we're so used to doing, right, are on the left-hand side of this. How many people are stuck on this left-hand side or left-hand? Yes, left-hand side. How many people their organization expects them to be on this left-hand side? One person, 2 people being honest. Okay, a few people being honest, right? How does that manifest itself? Right. Okay, right over here. Why'd you get that feeling that they still want you on that side?
Well, in certain situations, then you become sort of maybe a poor translator for either your team or the situation.
So it's the classic, what's going on? Why don't you know everything? Yeah? That's still that same thing? Yeah. That happens so much. As I said when I first kicked this off, right? Our leaders still expect us to know everything. And yet, I don't know about you, but I was actually never very good at knowing everything because I forget. I'm terrible at that. So I like this relying on my team to knowing what's going on. My answer now, when executives come and say, "Hey, Paul, what's happening with this project?" is, I don't know. Let's go down to the team room and find out. Ooh, come with me. And I use that as a learning opportunity for my executives, because most of the time they don't know. They don't know what's going on. Anybody know what a Gemba walk is? Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, too, I think for solving problems when there's a crisis, I think we may get the direction from a leader. We need to get in there and take control or
Yeah.
help them fix it. So there's that tendency to just, well, we don't have time for you to do it the new way, so you just need to.
I don't have time for you to do it the right way.
Yeah.
Right? I want you to go back and do it the old way. Yeah, that really does happen a lot. Does that happen in your organization a lot?
It's yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to break that paradigm. It really is. I say it's taken me years to figure this out, and this is pretty simple comparatively, right? What was I saying? Don't remember. No, it's okay. Gemba walk. Thank you. Somebody was paying attention. Awesome. Does anybody use Gemba walks, or are you familiar with what they're about? So in manufacturing, I told you I came from a manufacturing background. So I was in manufacturing for a bunch of years. I wrote some software, which got me into commercial software, which got me into EDS, which got me into General Motors. And then I went back to my manufacturing roots in GM. So I spent 3 years on shop floors implementing lean manufacturing techniques, which being part of EDS was interesting because we were taking out computer software. It was kind of intuitive. But one of the techniques I learned from the Toyota production system was a Gemba work. Gemba means where the action is, where the work is, right? So a Gemba walk in a manufacturing facility means executives getting out of their office and going down to the manufacturing floor, actually walking around the floor and figuring out what's going on. I like to use a Gemba walk in software too, a lot. Well, let's go and visit the team. Oh my God, I've got to sully my shoes and walk into that space. Not quite that answer I get, but it's very similar to it. I'm surprised sometimes how many executives are reluctant to do that. But actually, get up off your butt and go and walk to where the work is taking place, because that's where the real action is. As managers, please do that. I mean, you're much closer to the action anyway. You're probably doing it.
Nowadays, work is being done in a distributed fashion.
I was just going to say that, but what happens when it's being done in Costa Rica or Germany or Poland? How can you do that?
Instant message.
Oh, that's really effective. Yeah, Slack's really great at that, isn't it? Yeah. So how many of you are managing in a distributed environment? Almost all of you. Right. How can you use this Gee, I need 2 screens. How can you use this framework to make that happen? Can you? Ooh. You can reach out. You need allies, right? You can use the same framework to make allies on the other side. The other side. Yeah, I know. That didn't come out quite right. And do you have a travel budget? Can you go to India 1 week a month, 1 week a year? Is that possible? Most likely not. That's a real shame. When you kick off projects, I feel really deeply about this. When you kick off new projects, you should really bring the entire team together and do the planning there. I've made this observation a few times. So you're willing to spend $25 million on this project, but you're not willing to spend $10,000, and you like the failure rate to go up because you're not willing to spend $10,000. Is that right? $25,000, you're willing to throw that away. As an outside consultant, I can say that. Inside, it's harder. But if you can find a colleague to work with you on these things, and you're both using the same language, and that's one reason I like this, using the same language, then you can alleviate that, right? Now you're pairing with that person all the time, and using this language, you got something to hang your hat on. Yeah? No? Yeah, very good. All right. That was ineffective. I love technology, I really do. That was my honeymoon, by the way. There we go. Oh, no. All right, now you got to, I told you I love technology. Where was I? I was going here. All right, so we've established you're still having to do, that was my honeymoon too. I was in Africa for my honeymoon. I like to brag about it. If you can, use that construct to get over here. Right? Instead of telling people what to do, figure out this building a trusted relationship. If I can invite you in, if I can help understand what you need, if I can listen to you very effectively, right? Do all of those good things, I'm building this trusted relationship with the business, but with you, and then with the business. I always take these as one step removed. If I'm establishing that relationship with my development team, and I'm freeing them to talk to the business, I now have that relationship with the business. Make sense? Don't solve the problems, let other people solve the problems. But gosh, you've got to help people solve that. My friend with a baby in the hospital, she couldn't solve the problem of working and going to the hospital. I had to do that, or I had to help with that. Very careful there. I had to help with that. Okay? Last slide. When I think about agility, I think about these different aspects of it. So leadership. What is the leadership traits that are being displayed? Are they command and control, or are they people really pushing decision-making down? They're pushing decision-making down, that means they're really pushing decision-making down lower than the manager level, lowest possible level. You have to support that. But you also have to facilitate that leadership being pushed down. You still need to know what's going on, right, as managers? Still need to know what's going on. You just don't need to control it. Organizational feedback loops. That's really what these eight traits or these pairings are all about. How do I get information back, and how do I use that to make the organization stronger? Yeah? How do I ask questions to figure out what's going wrong? How do I run experiments as a manager and do something different, right? Learn from that, even when it's a mistake. Time to market, all these other good things. The last one is also pretty close to my heart. How do we execute? What am I learning from that? This is written for software development, but as a manager, I still need to execute. What about things like pay raises? What about things like performance appraisals? Are we still stuck in the annual performance appraisal thing? Many of us? Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm not going to go there. We managed to break out of the Solutions IQ a little while ago. We now give feedback about once a month to our peers, to our superiors, and well, we don't have subordinates there. We all just kind of work together, which is kind of cool. Figure out how you can give feedback to your employees sooner rather than later, every week. But that means inviting them to get feedback. That means listening to what they want from you. It means clarifying what sort of feedback they want and how they want it. So my 6-week-old, not 6-week-old, but my 6-week experienced intern, what sort of feedback do you think they're going to want? Am I doing it right? The really basic stuff. Am I still working here? Did I screw up? You know, that's what they want, right? My developer who's been there for 18 years is really good, really motivated, knows their stuff. What sort of feedback do you think they're going to want? Validation. Yeah. Recognition. Why am I doing this work? Whole different set of conversations, right? Yeah? So Again, think about that spectrum. It's not for everybody. It's at one end or the other. One end or the other. You've listened to me talk for 40 minutes, and you're still awake. I like that. Let me flip back to these. I'm not very good with this. 2 buttons, I still get it wrong. Are these valid constructs for you guys? Are there other things that are more important to you? Let me know. Shout them out. We're all friends here. Innovate. Okay, so what are the extremes of innovate? Innovate's a good thing.
Do things the way you've always done them.
Okay, and?
Complete chaos.
Complete chaos. Can you see a time when complete chaos is a good thing? Yeah? What about do things the way we've always done it? Yeah? Yeah, you get the idea, right? It's somewhere in between. One of my clients, not anymore, but was 3M, probably the most innovative product company in the world. Oh my God, they're a 120-year-old company making sandpaper. They encourage chaos. It's unbelievable, unbelievable. They encourage people to go out and experiment in anything other than the job they've been hired for, right? And it's chaos when they first start doing that, but some really good things come out of that. So yeah, innovate. I like that. I'm going to steal that. Anybody else? This side of the room's really quiet. These are the internal people, right? Collaboration. Okay, so what are the extremes there?
One extreme is everybody's included and nothing gets done. It's just a conversation, and no one's included and everyone's excluded except you.
Right, right. And bouncing around? Give me a situation where everybody should be included.
Probably some major strategic decision has to be made, and it's going to affect a lot of people, a lot of work change.
So everybody needs to know, right? Yeah, okay. And the other end?
Like, what am I going to do today?
Yeah, sometimes you don't need to collaborate with everybody, right? Gee, I've got 3 things to do, and I'm going to work on B. And it's just a thing all on its own. I don't need to tell anybody. Yeah. So again, it's all over the place. This is really hard to get used to, I think.
There's one that we're kind of trying to work through is around transparency, and we're trying to be more transparent.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes you stress people out more if you're really upfront about things that are being considered. So I mean, I think it's probably still the right thing to do, but there are times probably when we need to wait, and then times when we want to share stuff early.
And let me add another complication in there, especially with transparency. Some people handle it really well, and some people don't. So it's a timing thing, and it's a very personal thing. Yeah? Are you finding that? Yeah. So if I'm going to buy a company, right, I don't need to be very transparent about that when I'm first starting negotiation. In fact, I probably shouldn't be. Yeah? But as we get close to closing the deal, I probably want to be really transparent about that. Yeah, yeah. Again, moving all over the place. All right, I'm going to shut up, and you're going to ask questions. No, I'm going to invite you to ask questions. By the way, did you see my friend here? I don't know why, but Solutions IQ chose this as we do a podcast thing occasionally, and this is the logo for our podcast. Our marketing department came up with this. So do you know why the T-Rex became extinct? This is a marketing answer, I'm just saying. Short arms. Short little arms, it couldn't do anything effectively. If only we'd given it these extenders, it would rule the world now. Okay. If you want more information, I don't know where you're going to get it. But let me invite you to ask questions, comments, thoughts on this. Is this all made up nonsense? I mean, it could well be. This is just a theory, right? But I'm trying to give you something to go away with to at least think about.
Is there anything that you see that stops people the most from adopting these things?
Pride. Yeah, I really do know all the answers, but I'll go along with it for a while. We'll see how it goes. The other one is culture. you'd better know everything that's going on or you're worthless to me. You know, that's probably more of a driver than pride, quite frankly.
And I would say on feedback, on when you give feedback, you're giving people feedback every time you talk to them, whether you know you're doing it
Yep.
or not. So the formal monthly feedback or the yearly feedback, right, is really meaningless compared to every single conversation.
Mhm.
So part of that is that listening in a mindful way so that you understand everything that you're saying.
Right, right. Listen and clarify, right? Listen and clarify. I remember when I used to have to do annual feedback for my team, I'd write it all up, and at some point they all look the same. You know, you understand the good people and the really terrible people. The rest are just in the middle. Inevitably, a day or so after giving the feedback, I'd say, "Oh no, Sarah did this great thing, and I forgot to tell her about it." You know, inevitably I'd do that. So yeah, once a year is not nearly enough. Not nearly enough.
Have a team like you have a piece of work. You invite people to who's going to pick up this piece of work. If you don't get a response, then what do you do? Like any tips there?
Do you all hear that? If you have a team, you invite them to pick up a piece of work, and everybody says, no, he'll do it. Right. So this is where you go to the other side, right, of, well, somebody's got to do it. I'm sorry, I hate to be the bad guy, but Brian, can you do this, please? You know, the please is important, right? You're still coercing them, but it's not all goodness and light. You're a manager for a reason, and that's to get things done, right? Don't miss out on that. You're still there to get things done. Sometimes you have to coerce people into getting it done.
Sometimes there's a piece of work sort of laying around, with smell lines coming off it. That piece of work might need to be investigated, right? Why is it so distasteful?
Mm-hmm.
Just a long slog, in which case, all right, get to it. But if there's something, right, if there's something wrong with it, that needs to be
Right.
checked out.
Yeah. Or it's a piece of COBOL code. I don't know COBOL. Sadly, I do know COBOL, but yeah. If there's nothing more, then is the bar open? Now, I'm delivering the best news of the day. I just want to say, the bar is open. Talk to the barman. Ask him what his good drink is. Listen to what he said. No. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.